What's going on, gamers? Today we're going to be going over all of the Pyromancer gear sets that you can now get, including the new ones you're getting with Worldslayer, and which ones I think are the very best for your builds. So if you want to know what the strongest Pyromancer sets to aim for are, then stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back everybody. Today we'll be taking a look at the Pyromancer sets in game. We have 6 to choose from there, but which ones are the very best? Some of the ones that used to be absolutely amazing are now, I would say, not at the top of the pack, whereas some of the ones that weren't very good, I would now say have completely changed and could well be some of the best in game. As always, if this helps you out, a like would be much appreciated, and if you'd like to become a member of the channel for more gaming content, then why not hit that subscribe and bell. But for now, we're going to be looking at all of the gear sets, and I'll be rating them what I think the best ones are that you should be aiming for in order to do some truly powerful builds and just decimate your foes. So coming in at our number 6 slot, and probably the one that I think still needs an adjustment the most, and that's the Torturer set. I love the actual way that the headpiece looks on this. I'll probably be using this on a few of my builds for the customization, but unfortunately the actual gear set just isn't up to par with a lot of the others in the game. It does help you out now because they've kind of amended it a little bit, and they have made it, I think, made it a bit better than it used to be, but still nowhere near top notch for the Pyromancer, and doesn't keep up with a lot of the firepower gear sets for other builds, and for even probably the Pyromancer. If you were going to put one together, this wouldn't be the strongest. So if we have a little look, the Torturer set triples the range of the volcanic round's damaging aura that surrounds each bullet. Enemies affected by the aura share 30% of the anomaly damage dealt to the target successfully with volcanic rounds. It's quite good. For ad clearing, for getting rid of multi-targeting, it's a massive improvement. However, because it doesn't have any flat increases, it doesn't really help you with that boss nuke, and a lot of times that's what you'll struggle with if you've got this build on. You can pull it off, it can be a really good build, but I think if you're going for that absolute devastation boss nuke damage, this isn't the one for you. What you tend to do is clear the ads much faster because you've got that anomaly aura, and because they're taking that extra damage around themselves, meaning you're going to capture more ads whilst you're shooting your volcanic rounds. But overall, it just doesn't do enough to compete with a lot of the other builds. In fact, I would say if you could pull it off, if you're going for a really high powered firepower build, it does definitely take a bit of work, but probably putting something together with the armour of Maxwell's Demon may well work out a little bit better. Now this one's quite a mouthful. Each successful assault weapon shot grants a firepower bonus that stacks up to 50%. To reach the bonus, half of the weapon's magazine ammo must be spent as successful shots, so you have to get quite a few shots on target, otherwise this one's useless, but you pretty much will be if you're going for that weapon power build. On achieving maximum stacks, the firepower bonus is raised to 100%, and burn is applied to both the player and enemies within a 15-hit radius. The bonus is activated for up to half of the weapon's magazine ammo capacity. Bonus is lost upon reloading or swapping weapons. Like I said, a bit of a mouthful, but if you manage to pull this set off, as opposed to the Torturer set, you will be able to just completely mow everything down in front of you anyway. So I'd say the Torturer set at the moment, unfortunately, comes in at last place for me for the Pyromancer. For our 5th slot, and we've got this one, which is one of my old favourites. Now I think it's just a little bit too hybrid. Again, what they've tended to do is to make it so that you're absolutely amazing at multi-clearing, and that's the Reforge set. I think this looks like one of the best, a very Halloween vibe going on, but it's very much aimed towards multi-targets, more so than it is for doing absolutely massive numbers. So again, you'll slow down very much so on that boss. However, just remember, this is just my personal preference. All of these gear sets can definitely work with the right mods, and you can take on any activities with any of these with the right pyro builds. But for strength, I'd say this one comes in 5th. The reason for that, using Thermal Bomb increases the next damage of Feed the Flames by 100%. Using Feed the Flames increases damage of next Thermal Bomb by 100%. It's absolutely amazing for ad clear. If you can get your cooldown very low, you're going to be proccing that Feed the Flames, smashing through those 4 enemies over and over again, because you'll be using that thermal bomb first. There'll be a lot of explosions going off, there'll be a lot of area damage, there'll be a lot of those multi-clears, because you're absolutely going to massacre those basic enemies. It can also do very nice damage to the elites. However, I found with this, I had to focus a little bit on everything, and the mods that I put on, a lot of them weren't damaging ones. I had to put the Flame Grasper on, because you definitely want that for Feed the Flames. You're probably going to want to put on one that's got another one, so you can capture 4. And then a lot of times I'd probably say you're going to end up with this build going the route of putting on Volcanic Rounds as well. This is a very nice rounded build, but it doesn't do the highest damage on those bosses, so you will take a bit of a time on those. But if you like to run and gun and you like a lot of anomaly going on, this probably is one of the better sets for yourself, even though it's probably outclassed by a lot of the later sets we're going to be showing. Next up, and we've got the Scorch, the Zealot set. This is a very hard set to pull off. You need a lot of things going on. If you can manage to pull it off, it may well go a little bit up the rankings, because in a perfect build, I think this one could do some really fun damage. However, it's one of the hardest ones to pull off I found, and I'd probably say you're going to need one of the Devastator mods called Concussive Force in order to make this work best. If you have a little look, the 3-piece bonus for this, the Pyromancer's melee skill fires a projectile that explodes upon impact, dealing 448,206 damage and inflicting ash to enemies within a 5-meter radius. Damage of the projectile increases by 25% for each enemy hit with Feed the Flames. Up to 100% bonus is spent on the next melee skill used. This one is a very fun thing to use. You're going to be spamming melee. When you are, it's going to launch a projectile and you're going to do a lot of damage with it. That 448 is very low, because my firepower just over here is low. If I showed you, for example, let me find one. So say I swapped over to this Final Penance, the best that I could do with it was doing a hybrid build, anomaly power into firepower. It may well be that you'll want just firepower, but that's the best I've had on this so far. When your firepower goes through the roof, so does that skill. If you have a little look, it's gone up to 751,000, and that's before we're using Feed the Flames. In the right setup, with a completely perfect build, I think this will probably go higher, but at the moment I found it to be a little bit too well rounded, and again couldn't quite do enough damage bosses for myself. But I didn't have perfect mods. If you can get them, it may well be that this set is one to look out for. It's a lot of fun to use, and there's not really much out there like it. Next up, and coming in at our 3rd spot, we've got everybody's old favourite, and that's the Akari set. This was pretty much the king for anomaly builds in pretty much every way and form. It destroyed everything and it was a lot of fun to use. Now everyone has played with this for probably about a year if you're a Pyromancer, and I think it is very much outclassed by the last 2, unfortunately, although it still does massive damage. The Akari set is one of the best gear sets in the game, but now I feel it's definitely superseded by 2 others. So the Akari set, every enemy damaged by Heatwave now grants 25% anomaly power bonus for 10 seconds. I can't remember how many that stacks at. I think it might be 3 if my memory serves me right, but it definitely does stop stacking. So you couldn't just keep using it in order to get your anomaly power all the way up, because after a certain threshold it does stop. However, it is still a really nice buff. And if you're using this setup correctly, you'll be able to hit everything and destroy bosses and destroy ads very fast. However, I found myself now, when putting this together, I used to be very tanky with this setup. I found myself going a little bit down the glass cannon route, which I didn't enjoy as much. Of course, falling over means you start again a little bit. I don't enjoy that in the slightest. So this one I feel was definitely fell off. Also, it's not the hardest hitting there, which means it's definitely lost its crown in that regards. However, still a really nice set, and if heatwaves are your thing, this will be the set you're going to chuck on, because it probably still works out best for that build. So coming in at our number 2 spot, and I have to admit, my favourite set in the whole game. It is just so good. It is amazing at just clearing content very fast. You have a fun time with it. I find that in general that it does everything that I want it to do. If you have a little look, the Heatseeker's 3-piece bonus is after successful detonation, thermal bombs travel to the target with the lowest health in a 25 meter radius. 25 meters is massive. It's going to chain, it's going to proc detonations, it's going to just absolutely smash through those smaller enemies and those elites alike. It's really, really good, and with the right setup and right packs tree, this can clear content almost as fast as anything in the game. Like I said, it's my favourite and I really enjoy using this. Also, because you don't have to worry about too much, you're mainly just speccing into that thermal bomb, you have another slot to use for your boss damage. I find Phaser Beam definitely works the best on this, and you're going to hit those elites, those bosses very hard, and have a lot of nice ad clear going on. So for me, I'd say this is probably the best well-rounded set, and one of the most fun to use. And that's why it comes in at a number 2 slot, but personally for me, this is the one I most enjoy using. However, coming in at a number 1 slot, one that you would never ever think about if you played the base game, because it was awful, absolutely awful. I tried to make it work an abundance of times and failed miserably, and that's the Lavalike set. This now absolutely tears things to pieces. It is so fun to use. You've got a lot of leech going on, so you don't fall over quite as easy. You've got a lot of range going on. You've got so much damage that adds enemies, elites, bosses. Nothing stands a chance. I would say this is very possibly the strongest gear set in the game currently. There may be a few on other classes that vie for that contention, but it's going to be close. This nukes everything, and with just one round of eruptions, if you've got it as triple stacked, you can take out that last boss and just have a lot of fun as you watch him melt to pieces. In fact, this one right here I just chucked together. I have got very, very bad mods on it all. It's not boosted with Anomaly, and I'm just going to show you what it done on the very first Arbiter when I got to him, just to test it out. Right, so hopefully from that you can see just how damaging this set is. It does that to the basic ads, it does that to the elites, it does that to the bosses. Everything falls over, and if you've got a perfect setup with this, nothing stands a chance. It's also a lot of fun to watch as enemies completely explode in front of yourself, and those eruptions are finally what they should be, as the top of the food chain for damage for the Pyromancer. If you are going to be using this, one thing to remember, chuck down here on the old packs tree, because you're going to get so much damage, especially from these last two, that you're well set for pretty much anything in the game. But yeah, that's my top picks. Let me know in the comments if you feel there's anything that I've missed out, or if you'd like to rate them differently. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, take care. I'll see you all next day.